Huh? Ooh, they can see me? Do you wanna... Oh. Oh, right. Oh, wait, I'm in the, I'm still in the Fallout outfit. Oh, microphone might be muted, Alma.
Wife is here. Sorry. I get really excited when I see wife. Anyway, hello everybody. Happy Friday.
Brandon's saying microphone might be muted.
I just fixed it.
Oh, okay.
Hi everybody. Happy Friday. My name is Alma Hexblade, your head guild master and chief barista, and we're here. I'm here with my wife, Jill. Hi, Jill.
Hello.
Hi, Jill.
Hi. I'm Joe.
You're Jill.
Wow.
That's right. You are Jill.
That's crazy.
I know, right? Do you want me to hide you while you change your avatar, or you go?
Oh, I can... Yeah, sure.
Okay. And, so today...
I forgot that I didn't need to have that page, like, open to do this.
Yeah, so today is Findin Out Friday. She wanted to join me because she was curious, I guess. And we're gonna be watching
there's a
videos.
video on the list, if it's what I think it is, that I've seen before and I really like.
Yay. Okay, let's switch over to screen where we do the video watching. Oops.
I think I'm fixed. I think Jill has been fixed now.
You've been fixed.
Yeah, please spay and neuter your bartenders.
Not sure how to feel about that sentence. Wait, how tall are you? Because you're like 800 by 600.
I'm 6 feet tall.
Thank you. There's something weird. Oh, no.
I look a little wide.
Yeah, that's the weird part to me, is like you're oddly wide, and I don't know, I don't really understand why.
Mrs. Wide.
You're wide. Oh. Tall.
You ever seen the picture of Kirei where it's like Mr. Wide?
No.
Hold on.
You're tall now. There you go. Okay, so we got.
I think it was a picture of Kirei. Maybe it wasn't.
Kirei? No.
Well, that's a picture of Kirei in the Umineko style.
Yeah. Okay,
let
me see here that I got all this. So let me see if I got all this set up. So this first video is...
I'm sitting on her lap.
You are.
Apparently.
You are. Oh, no. Come on. There it is. Is about a computer in a thing.
Computers?
Yeah.
You like those.
I like those. Okay, here we go. I hope this works, because this is our first time using like a video sync thing, so both of us are watching it at the same time. So here goes nothing, I guess.
Today, personal and sentimental reasons, is one of the coolest builds I've ever done on the channel. I'm going to use the main board from my framework laptop to build a
What?
Right now it's just the thumbnail that says powered by Gear Framework.
I wonder why. Should I try again?
Should I try refreshing?
Maybe try refreshing, yeah. You're back. Should I play?
It's still just the thumbnail and it says it's 13 seconds in.
Today,
oh, there we go.
Oh, come on. It's not...
Today, compact computer.
I think it's working.
Extremely compact.
Yeah,
it'll be smaller than this and look very, very similar.
Oopsie.
Let's do this.
But this is cool. He puts an entire, like, keyboard in a...
Hey, guys. Welcome to Elevated Systems. I'm your host, CJ.
Computer in a keyboard.
Some of you are aware that I set out to do what I'm doing today over a week ago and ran into a complication. I outlined the problem on my last video, which I've since taken down. I was gonna recap that here. I actually just did, but thanks to the magic of video editing, I'm gonna cut all of that out and drop it into a separate, unlisted video that I'll link in the description below for those who are interested and care. But because the vast majority of viewers don't, now we're just gonna get into this build. So let's go over the plan of action. Today, I'm gonna take this i7-1165 G7 version mainboard from my Framework laptop, get all the measurements I need, design a sleek and slim enclosure for it in Fusion 360, print it out on my 3D printer, and here it is. I know that was fast, but we got a lot to go through today. Now, because of the 200mm build plate on my Anycube Omega S, I had to split the model and print it in 2 pieces, which actually works out because first, 3D printing a plastic case for this motherboard with a CPU that can hit 100 degrees Celsius, which is above the melting point for PLA, is just for prototyping, not for a long-term or permanent use. I'll go over what the permanent solution is at the end of the video, but because the heat from the maiden board can cause the plastic case to warp or shrink and expand, I made a few design choices to compensate. First, the 2 pieces just clip together. Ooh. I'm not gonna glue or fasten them together in any other way, so the case has a joint to shrink and expand across, so it doesn't crush the board. Also, there's a bit of wiggle room in the expansion bays, so if the case warps some, it won't put too much strain on the internal port. Finally, instead of extracting out exact screw holes to mount the case, I just added these 5mm diameter standoffs in roughly the center of the mounting position. Some of my measurements were a bit off, like 0.5mm or less, so not a big deal and easily fixable in Fusion. So to install the board, first, I have it set in, and I'm gonna slide in my expansion cards to make sure the board is properly placed within the case.
It's very cool.
Now that I know the board is positioned correctly, I'll use my soldering iron with the needle tip, and I'll just mark where the center of the mounting position is. All right, now that that's marked, I can remove the board. And because using a drill to drill out the standoff will probably just shear off the standoff, I'm just going to use a drill bit to melt a screw hole into the standoff.
Let's see what the issue is. Oh, sorry, I'm messing around with Vroid while I'm doing this.
Okay.
Now, I can screw the board
Life
in,
is,
but before I do,
multitasking
I have this cover.
I'm so amazed.
That I just cut from a sheet of 22 gauge steel.
You're so impressive.
I did this out in my garage, and I apologize, but the footage disappeared from my phone somehow. But it was fairly easy. I just marked the dimensions, cut it to size with my jigsaw with a metal cutting blade and a straight edge guide. Then I sprayed it matte black. So now I just need to make some marks for the mounting screws to attach it to the case and attach a Visa mount. So let me get that done.
Man, these captions are not good enough. I mean, it happens sometimes, but...
Okay, now I just need to do the same thing, mark the standoff and melt in some screw holes. Now I'm gonna use these little paper washers and I'm gonna screw these in loosely, again, so the board has some wiggle room. All right, board secure. Let's go ahead and put the cover on. And there it is. Again, if this was a permanent solution, I would typically melt knurled brass threaded inserts into those plastic standoffs. I think it would be cool to have, but this will work as a prototype, and this is as far as I was gonna go with this design today. I was just gonna print out a Visa mount, attach this to the back of one of my 4K Samsung 27-inch displays. This display works great because the stock stand doesn't use the Visa mount. Plug in a wireless mouse and keyboard and demo a great second life for the Framework main board for when the time comes. But then a viewer noted in one of my community posts that the main board looks about the same size as a 60% keyboard, so maybe a modern Commodore 64 type build. Zach, you read my mind, but I was thinking 10 keyless. I have actually been on the lookout for a good 10 keyless mechanical PCB and plate for a future build, but it just so happens I have on hand a 60% PCB with a 61 key plate.
Oh, is he just making the keyboard?
Gateron blue switches.
Oh, he is basically just making a keyboard over it.
Cheap keycap set. So huge thanks to Zach. This is actually stuff I was gonna use to teach my son how to build a mechanical keyboard, but I decided to go 10 keyless for him and hot swappable because all 61 switches are gonna have to be soldered in.
Oh,
yay! But that'll be kind of nostalgic because the very first thing I ever soldered was replacing a blown capacitor in my Commodore 64 when I was like 9 or 10 years old. But first, we need to design a case for the mechanical keyboard part of the build, which will mount directly to the top of this. So some considerations first. I want it to be as thin as possible. The PCB has underglow RGB and I have some clear PLA, so I want to incorporate a design that'll highlight that feature. But there is no under key RGB on the top of the PCB, and these keycaps aren't shine through, so the underglow will be the only RGB effect. So I'm thinking a dual layer print. The bottom part of the keyboard case that will be under the PCB will be transparent or really translucent once it's printed, and the top will be the same black filament as the main board case. That way, when the keyboard is mounted to the PC, just a thin middle section will be lit up. So to the drawing board. And for time's sake, I won't take you through the entire design process, just highlight the key points. I started with a simple sketch to match the inside dimensions of the main board tray and extruded it to a depth of 17 millimeters. I further extruded out a 9 millimeter deep section to the outer dimensions of the case. This is the middle RGB strip, if you will. Hollowed the case out for the keyboard, added standoffs to secure the PCB, a window to pass the USB cable down to the PC, and rather than do a 2 filament print, I designed some border pieces to precisely frame in the keyboard when it's installed. I added feet to raise the keyboard up about 5 degrees and allow for ventilation. And finally, so I can turn the computer on, I added a simple mechanical power switch, and everything got printed.
I think
and
you could,
here
like,
it is. So again, I had to split the print, but assembly is pretty simple. I'm also not going to glue these things together, but if I was, that's what these recesses in here are for. I can cut some more of my 22 gauge steel into 2 pieces, exactly those dimensions, and epoxy it into place. And if I polish it up first, I can reflect some of the underlighting. Now, I went with this frame design on here to make it look more mechanical, and maybe because I was staring at my Keychron the whole time, but like the Keychron, I'm gonna screw the frame onto the case, so let me drill and tap those holes. All right, now let's make sure it fits all together. There we go, so far so good. Now the fun part. I have 61 switches to solder to this PCB.
Oh, no.
I'll be right back.
I think this is why I always recommend like the hot swap ones. Just because this is a pain in the butt to do. I do not envy him for this task. So many.
I haven't had that much fun since my undergrad ECE labs, but I do have a problem. I ordered a set of cheap plate mount stabilizers, and apparently what arrived was snap-in stabilizers, which essentially are just screw-in stabs with plastic clips that clip into the screw hole. Unfortunately, The only other set of stabs I have on hand are screw-in, neither of which will work on this plate. I just ordered the correct stabilizers. Unfortunately, they won't be here for a couple days, so I'll just have to drive on with some floppy keys, unfortunately. But let me go ahead and get this thing positioned and screwed down into place. All right, now it's just the keycaps, and if I did everything right, the case and frame should extend just past the bottom.
It's such a sleek setup, actually. I thought it was going to be taller than I was expecting, but that's
Right
actually
there.
pretty low.
That looks good.
I mean,
All right,
considering
put these
there's
keycaps
like
on.
a lot of stuff in there, it looks pretty low.
Okay, I think I did it. I got some floppy keys. I need to make some adjustments where the keys are a little too close to this top frame, but now I have to flash the firmware to make sure everything's working. Okay, that was fairly successful. Final assembly time, but let me point out a few things because not everything is perfect or as the plan. The standoffs here sit too close to the edge of the case and therefore are underneath this wall of the keyboard case. Now, if I had realized that in the design phase, I could have notched out a space to get the screw in there. As it stands, I could drill that out, but again, it's just a prototype, so I made the changes in Fusion, and I'll just use some mounting tape to attach the two parts. Again, it's a prototype. That's also how I'll attach the feet. And finally, the 90 to 90 degree USB-C cable I got for this is just too big despite the cutout I added for it. So unfortunately, I'm improvising here. Okay, let's get everything hooked up. Got HDMI here for my display. I got USB-A, just a dongle for a mouse.
I love the word dongle.
Dongle?
And finally, I
Dongle's
have
a
a
good word.
100-watt power supply.
Dongle's a fun word.
And let's see if my power button works.
Oh.
I hear it.
I remember
It's
when
success.
I was in
I don't see my
I think
RGB
middle
lights
school,
in
when I was
here,
in middle school
but I am
computer
sitting in a
class.
bright studio, so
the
that
teacher
could be
had
the
like an
case.
entire segment of a class where she said the word dongle as many times as possible so
Or
people
the
would
fact
get it
that
out of their system.
My USB-C is not plugged in.
It's not even like a penis joke, isn't it? It's like it's just not.
Well,
Well,
there's
yes, but
problems.
to a bunch of middle schoolers.
Troubleshooting
Dongle.
time. Troubleshooting complete, and for some reason, although this USB-C to USB-C cable worked
I
fine,
mean, I like
when I
dongles.
tested it on my workstation,
I know you
it
do.
doesn't work on
Okay.
the framework USB-C port, possibly because the USB-C on
I was like,
my
all right, that's
workstation
enough
is
blackmail
just a
for today, Joe.
3.1 Gen 1 port. To get it to work here, I needed a USB-C to USB-A cable, and the only one I have is like 6 feet long, so I went from the planned hidden internal cable
You can just...
to this ugly mess. Also, the RGB
No.
isn't working now. Hopefully I can get that
He could have
fixed
just
before I
stripped the
shoot
internal
B-roll,
cable,
but
I think.
You guys should know that by now if that's the case.
Hmm.
Other than that, everything works. Except this bracket key right here. I missed one of the solder points. Hey, 1 out of 120 ain't too bad. I'll get it when I install the stabilizers when they get here, but ultimately, if I continue development of this system, I'll be going with a much better.
It is a
keyboard
prototype.
PCB.
It is a very
This
good
was just the one I
prototype,
had
though.
on hand. Okay, and now I know it's still kind of
Like,
a
it's,
rough
you know, it's
draft with
basically
the print
you
layers all
prototyped a
undressed
Commodore
and the
64,
seams.
like,
Obviously, if this was a permanent device, I'd fill the seams,
a modern-
filler primer and sand till smooth, and give it a really nice paint job. But even so, I think it looks pretty sick, considering it's a fully functional desktop computer disguised as a mechanical keyboard. I love the overall design. It has both a retro feel as well as a very industrial aesthetic, and the 60% keyboard form factor is awesome. And you can see why the battery wouldn't work here. You can't put it under the main board because of, well, ventilation, and you can't put it on top of the board because, well, this Tiger Lake CPU will really warm it up. It's not good to cook a lithium ion battery. I'm also not sure about all the ports on the sides. It would probably make sense to have at least 2 expansion ports for power and display on the back and 2 on the sides, maybe 1 on each side. You have to use the width anyway due to the dimensions of the keyboard, but adding expansion bays to the back would make it that much deeper. However,
You could
I
just
was also thinking if it
internally-
was deeper, I
I
could
don't know.
position the keyboard farther back and use the extra space on the front for a palm rest, or keep the extra depth in the rear and incorporate something like this USB hub into the chassis, so I would have Ethernet, SD readers, and even an NVMe expansion bay. Honestly, I have too many ideas flooding my brain, but what do you guys think? Should I just continue to refine this as is, or should I make some more significant adjustments, or do all the ideas, which is an option, I guess? Let me know in the comments, but before you go, let me explain how this goes from a prototype to a permanent home for the main board. Now that I have all the precise measurements, I can take the CAD file to a CNC shop and have it machined out of aluminum. What
Oh, there
I
we
would
go.
actually do with the case is have the whole
Like,
thing
properly make it out of
machined from
aluminum?
except for the expansion ports. I can cut those out and then use 3D printed inserts pretty much the same way the
Joe, how do
laptop
you pronounce
chassis does.
aluminum?
The aluminum can also be much thinner, so the expansion
You don't pronounce it
cards will be
aluminium?
flush, not recessed like they
I'm-
are here due to the 3mm
What?
case
I'm
walls.
I'm
I can also
English,
have the
I'm not
keyboard
from
case
England.
machined from clear or frosted acrylic, and the top frame from aluminum. Now, I had a shop in town that could do this for me, but because of the
Aluminum.
past year, they really don't do
Aluminum.
one-offs anymore, or at least for the
Aluminium.
time being. However, there are
Aluminum.
places online. I've used Xometry before, and they've done a good job with pretty quick turnaround. They can even finish the parts for me. Again,
Aluminum.
let me know what you think. If there's enough
Aluminum.
interest, I'll send the plans off to be
Aluminum.
machined.
Aluminum.
I'll move on to the next
Yeah.
project. I don't know, but I know I'll be back next week with something else, so be sure to hit that subscribe and like buttons, and I hope to see you in the next one. Until then, stay safe.
Until
This is a
then,
bottle of ferrofluid.
You're cute, I love
The
you.
ferrofluid is an oil
you
with
too.
iron particles in it, which means that if you bring a magnet close to it, this happens.
This
When we
one
move
is
the magnet
about-
around, the black substance follows. But what if there was a way to control this movement without any human interaction?
Oh yeah,
Behind
so
this glass
goop.
tank, there are 252
Yeah.
electromagnets lined up in a grid.
video about
An
goop.
electromagnet is only magnetic when you send a current through it,
Ooh.
which means that they will not affect the ferrofluid unless we specifically tell them.
electric goop.
In our spare time over the last 2 years, we've been trying to figure out a way
How
to
cool this
individually
is.
control a large quantity of electromagnets. Because when you can do this, the ferrofluid comes to life.
It says hi.
hello, Goop.
Hello, goop.
It's pretty.
Putty. Look at it go. I really like this. It's just really artsy, artful.
Yeah.
It reminds me of art. Look at it.
It reminds me of those things that people would like, the little things full of like the magnetic sand.
Yeah, something like that. I like watching it move. Oh, and the clock bit is really neat too.
Yeah.
I want one. I want one. It would cost a fortune, but I want one.
Can we make Putty do that?
I don't know, maybe. I think he's just having a good time.
Although controlling a lot of electromagnets has its challenges, it's still probably one of the most straightforward aspects of our device. The most secretive process, where very little information has been shared openly online, is making a nice and clean ferrofluid container. Our solution was honestly as simple as just using saturated salt water to contain the ferrofluid, but that's not a perfect solution on the long term, as it'll make the ferrofluid clump together over time.
Solving this problem and making the perfect ferrofluid container has not been a goal of ours. We've wanted to focus on the electronics and the code, but we've been able to make a few well-functioning tanks and shared our entire process here on the YouTube channel.
In fact, we've made this entire project open source. Code, CAD files and PCB designs. The entire build is documented in our video, so it should all be very possible to replicate for eager makers.
In theory,
we really
you
hope
could
to
make one
inspire
yourself,
you to make
too.
something similar so we can be a larger group of people contributing towards simpler ferrofluid systems with more functionality.
That's why we were super excited to show off our display at Oslo Maker Festival back in October. We'll let the audience make their own animations, and this is some of what they came up with.
Our animations are drawn in a third-party program called Sprite, which is free as long as you're able to compile the source code
Open
yourself.
source.
Then use a Python script to parse the files from
Open source
Sprite into a file
PogChamp.
format that we've invented ourselves. These animation files are read by the onboard Arduino-based microcontroller and displayed on the screen.
Yeet. That one said yeet.
While the ferrofluid display is finished, what you're watching here is not actually the final result.
Well, I mean, this is fetch final, but we are already working on fetch final, and in the future we'll probably work on fetch final version 4, and who knows where that will stop.
We have big plans for upgrades in the future, so please consider this version 1. In version 2, we'll have a lot of the small quirks worked out, and all the bugs will become features. Nevertheless, this is a fully functional ferrofluid display, or ferrofluid clock, if you will.
We've noticed that a lot of you really don't want this to be anything more than a clock. In our minds though, a display is a lot more versatile, and a clock is just a special case display application.
Our plans forward includes adding modules such as joysticks, buttons, wireless communication, asynchronous animations, and a lot of other stuff. But one of the things we really want to implement is video games.
So let us know down in the comment section
Can
what
you
kind of
run
games
Doom?
you would like to see us play on this thing. But keep in mind that we have
I
to
want
bring
to run
ferrofluid up
Doom
from
on
the
the
bottom.
I want to
Just
retrieve
even
on the
like this
goop
out of nowhere.
machine.
One game we think can be implemented is a multiplayer game like Tag.
Oh, Tag.
Two players control a blob each, and the goal is to avoid the opponent for the longest amount of time. Generally, avoid the blob type games are most likely to work in our opinion.
Like we mentioned earlier, we really hope that our project can inspire a ferrofluid community by removing some of the barriers that make a ferrofluid project daunting. Let us know if you make something using parts of our design or code. One of our upcoming projects will be to create a smaller, cheaper, more DIY-friendly ferrofluid display that hopefully makes the entry barrier even lower.
Because ferrofluid is beautiful to watch, we'll also do some smaller, more artsy videos in the near future. However, the video timeline of this channel was recently turned upside down, as I was admitted to an insanely exciting internship program in Silicon Valley, meaning I'll be abroad for a couple of months.
Pong.
starting
Oh yeah,
January
Pong would be
2020.
neat.
The program is at NASA Ames Research Center, and I honestly
I'm not
can't
sure if
contain
Pong
my
would be
excitement.
fast enough,
It kind
though.
of
What
feels
do you
like
think?
going full circle as well, since ferrofluid was originally a 1960s NASA technology. What I'll work on over there is completely unrelated though, and whether or not I'll have time to make any videos while I'm there remains to be seen.
Anyways, there will come more videos, but as I'm sure you can understand, it's a bit hard to determine an exact schedule at this moment. Therefore, if you subscribe to our channel, be sure to hit that notification bell so you won't miss our next video.
But that's it for this time.
Happy procrastinating!
It's so cool. It's cool when you make something that you just shouldn't be anyway in your spare time. It's called procrastinating's good. I mean, the stuff that you can make when procrastinating's neat.
Yeah,
I think I'm making sense.
I get what you mean.
So let's talk
Yeah.
about one of the earliest
Oh,
iPhones ever.
Death Star
the Death Star
iPhone.
iPhone 4. This is no normal iPhone 4.
What is
It's
this?
massively different than the production variant. Let's start with the obvious, the Death Star. Story goes, Apple was having issues with disclosure of product information at the time, so they chose this logo. Apparently, the hope is customs or other people would think it was some kind of knockoff Disney memorabilia and would consequently not leak any information as they wouldn't know it was Apple. At least that's what I've been told. Well, aside from the crazy story, let's talk about what's actually different. Most noticeably, the bottom lacks any screw holes like what's present on a production iPhone 4. So how do you open it? Well, the simple answer is a SIM card tray. There's actually a screw hole hidden behind the top of the SIM card tray, as you can see here. Additionally, there's no ring around the back camera.
Oh, that's
The front
evil. I
camera
hate
is
it.
red in color, and the volume buttons are smooth, lacking any volume indicators. So that's about it for
smooth
physical
phone.
differences. So let's talk internals. Internally, this unit has a number of differences. Firstly, it actually lacks a Retina display. and uses different display drivers than present on the production model. The connectors are completely different on the board.
Take it apart, take it apart,
This
take
is
it
why
apart,
some
take it
early
apart.
switchboard builds of iOS 4 are unable to be used on production 4 hardware. This also runs potentially the earliest build of iOS 4 known, 8A133 with an iBoot of 770. If you're wondering what this is actually a case for the phone, as Apple didn't have cases at the time, so an engineer just made one for himself. I hope this helps answer some questions about one of the most mysterious iPhone prototypes out in the wild.
It's mystery spooky.
Hello everyone, welcome
That was
to
cool.
the Lolo Man overview
But also,
video.
hey,
Lolo Man is
Jill,
my
look at
newest
this robot.
middleweight
It's
combat
cool.
robot, and it's a bit of a progression from Long Man. Long Man was this
Can you
robot
see
I
the
made,
robot,
maybe
Jill?
about a
Do you know
year
where the
ago.
robot
It's
is?
just, you know, a long
Where's the
bar
robot?
of aluminum. What I wanted to do with Lolo
It's
Man
the-
was
it's
make
the bar, I
basically the
assume.
thinnest or the lowest possible beetle weight that I could. So in continuing with this theme, let's take a look at Lolo Man.
It's low. Very low.
Wife, I have a question about the criteria of videos on this.
Yes.
So here is
can a
a
perfect
closer
run of a
look
Toho
at
game
Lolo
count?
Man. In terms of dimensions, it's about
No?
250 millimeters by
Sorry.
250 millimeters,
okay. I
or
was
about
just
10
curious.
inches by 10
Were you watching
inches.
Toho videos
The
earlier?
I was
chassis
watching,
or
like,
the frame
not right
itself
now.
is made
Earlier, I
from
was
a
watching a
single
bunch of,
billet
like,
of
1cc's.
aluminum, and it is
Oh.
14 millimeters thick. The wheels stick out about 3 millimeters top and bottom, so from the floor to the top of
But
a
look at how
wheel,
low-
it's
how
about
low this
20
boy is.
millimeters. So from the side, you can maybe get a better idea of that.
It's a very
So that's what it looks like from the
friendly,
side in terms of a profile.
floor- it's a very
it is
friendly
extremely
floor
thin.
tile.
In person, it just seems ridiculous. It's like a moving floor tile. And
Yeah,
this
there it is.
is 12-wheel drive, so each one of these is an individual motor. There's no belts in here, and I'll get to that later. As you
No more
probably
GDC
saw in
talk.
the previous videos that I had, this is using
don't think Zune
M20
would ever
motors,
go to
which are really
GDC.
small,
I don't
10
think Zune
millimeter,
would ever.
little
Yeah, you know
brushed
what? Yeah,
motor,
let's
and
just
it's
leave it like that.
using
I don't think he'd ever
12
do
of
that.
those, one for each one
There's not
of
enough
these
free
wheels.
booze.
Not enough
And
booze.
up front here we have 2 holes.
Yeah,
These
exactly.
are
There's
the
not
only
enough
visible holes
booze.
from this side. The front one is the LED, and then that one is
But look how
the
nice
power
this
switch.
this floor tile
This
is.
is a bit of a modular bot.
It's
and
such
I'll
a
go
cool
into that
floor
a bit
tile.
later.
Such a good-
Up
such a
front
buddy.
here we have
It's
the
a
kind
good
of
floor
basher
buddy.
bar or the plow. This is, I want to say, how deep is this? Yeah, it's about 16 and a half
I've seen it
millimeters, so
fight.
about
It's very
0.6, so
funny when it
5/8.
tries.
It's about 5/8 inch
Because it's
aluminum
so low
bar
that they
sits
tried
in
to,
the
like,
front,
you know,
and it
push
is
it
attached
around,
by
and then it
this
never
little,
really works.
keyway. There's a slot in the whole front that these different attachments can kind of affix to, and I'll show you when I show you the inside how all the different attachments, but there's 3 total attachments for them. This is just the all metal attachments that is made for just taking some abuse. And if we flip this over, this is the bottom side, and you can see we've got some screws along here, and there is just basically a cover plate that comes off and exposes all the guts inside. So yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it in terms of the outside. I am still working to do some of the final finishing and such on this. I'm just going to sand this down a little bit more and give it more of kind of a brushed aluminum finish. But yeah, that's what it looks like
Low
from
Man,
the outside.
because
Let's
Long
go
Long
ahead
Man is
and,
the other
open
one.
this up and see
Long
what's on the inside.
Man is the candy.
Yes, the candy
Opening
bars,
up
the
Lolo
Toblerone
Man is
bar that he
pretty
had
easy.
earlier.
There's just 6 screws across the bottom and just one simple
Have you
little
seen
Phillips
those commercials?
screwdriver.
Specifically,
So just
that Long
undo
Long Man
that.
comes
I've seen the
from?
I
entire
tried something
series. I love
different
them.
with this design, and you probably saw the
Sasha
preview
showed
of
me
that
them
in
at one
the
point.
motor cartridge and the battery cartridge video.
They're very
I tried to
funny. It's a
make
good.
the
It's
inside
a
of
fun
this as
saga.
modular
You know?
as possible. So to completely swap out this
Japanese
frame, I only have
commercials are
one,
the
but if I had 2 of them to completely swap out this frame, it only takes this one screwdriver. Everything just kind of snaps right out, and I'll show you what I mean in a second. But having such a thin robot kind of warranted a design like that. So this bottom cover just kind of comes off.
But look,
And
there's just
here
motors
is
in it.
the inside. Now what's interesting
Squares.
is nothing is actually held in place by any kind of fasteners, so if we want to take out any of the motor cartridges, they literally just pop out. There's the little post or the key, I guess, that they fit into, and it just kind of sets down over top. Just kind of snaps in like that. So any of these cartridges we can very easily just replace just by simply unsoldering them, pulling it out, and then swapping in a brand new one. The other thing that you can see here is we have the magnets that are set inside the cartridge, and they're pretty powerful N52 magnets. Overall, with these 6 magnets, I'm getting about
did you know I
2.5
liked
pounds
robots?
worth of downforce. So for a
Wow, that's
3-pound bot,
crazy.
that's not a whole lot, but it is enough to get a little bit of extra traction just for the pushing power.
Did you know
This
that
thing
I
does
like you a
drive
lot?
quite nicely. It's
Wow.
not the fastest in the world,
Wow.
but it is pretty powerful in terms of the drive because the weight distribution, you have a lot of surface area for wheels to make contact, and yeah, overall it drives pretty well. So you probably saw from the intro of this video that I had an NBots logo. This bot is kind of, I guess, sponsored in part with NBots. They actually created this custom ESC that drives everything. Because this is a 12-wheel and a 12-motor bot, I needed something kind of custom for the ESC because I would have had to do 3 double ESCs or something like that. So this is the custom NBots ESC that I will get into here in a second.
I forgot
The
what
last thing I
ESC
wanted to
stands
talk
for,
about
but
before
it's
we
like
kinda get
some
into the front attachments and the ESC
Was it ESC?
is
yeah,
this
something
is the
something. I
battery
bet it's
that you
something
saw
something
from the
controller.
previous videos. So swapping out a battery is really just that easy. You just kind of unclip it, and then you can just simply
Electronic speed controller?
Speed
snap the new one
controller. That's
in
what I was
place.
missing.
There we go. And
Thank
so
you.
swapping the batteries
Yeah.
is pretty easy in this, as well as swapping out these. Now, a couple little things. I don't have the final finishing touches. I'm actually 3D printing a little cover that sits over this right here to kind of protect this and also cover some of the wiring. And you can see I have these little, I don't even know what they're called, anchors for zip ties. So all of this is going to be nice and neat and zip tied in like that. So yeah, that's kind of what the inside looks like. So let's get a closer look at the NBots ESC because this is actually a pretty significant part of this build. So just pull this up. Like everything else, it just kind of rests on these 4 posts. And you can see I have this little 3D printed spacer. Something like this will go on the other side as well. This holds the LED. Oops, let me get on camera. This holds the LED and also creates a spacer so none of these components can come into contact with the aluminum chassis. So yeah, and then I just have a couple bits of foam on here, and if I take off this piece of foam, you can see I even have my logo and the name down here. So this is basically the NBots DESC, which is their dual ESC. This is 3 of them in one board with an integrated power switch, which is really helpful for a bot like this where I need everything kind of as consolidated as possible. So power comes into here. I've got all my radio connections over here, LED connector over there, and then this is their switch right there. So nice and simple, and all we have to do is put this little cover over top of it like that. And then this thing just slides down over top of these posts. And there's just a little bit of wiggle room here, just so it's not completely rigidly coupled. But yeah, no fasteners, nothing like that. So everything is kind of quick change. So I think the next thing to do is let's completely take all of this stuff out, and I'll give you a better look at what the actual chassis or frame looks like.
Jill, if we had a combat robot, what would we name
So
it?
here is the bare frame without anything in it. You can see I've got the 2 holes drilled through. This piece of foam is actually
that's a-
glued in here just to give the battery a little bit of protection. You might be able to kind of see I have a little bit of painter's tape around this nub, just because 3D printing is
Alternatively,
very
if we had a
precise,
child
and
together,
without the
what would
tape,
we
this
name
is
it?
just a little wobbly. Yeah, and that's pretty
What
much
did you
all
say
there is to it.
again?
You can see there's little divots here, 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 and here. Those are recesses or pockets for the magnets.
I said,
The magnets on
I
these
said,
motor
if we
cartridges
had
do
if
protrude
we
a
had
little
a
bit
child
out in
together,
each
what would you
direction.
call it?
So that
What's
little
harder?
bit of recess is there to allow them to get a little bit
Well,
closer
I
to
feel
the
like
ground.
the
And if I flip
there's
this
different
thing around, you can see the,
thought
holes
processes
for the
go
front
into each.
attachments all along here. I only have
Sure?
two in
Oh,
here because
hi,
I
Allie.
knew I'd
Hi,
be doing
Allie.
this video and I knew I'd have to take this off. So they come through the frame or the chassis and then they go
Let's
into this. I
see.
wanted to make these all blind holes so that you wouldn't see any exposed connectors because that's kind of the point
Stella.
of this bot. So let me kind of throw all this back together and I'll show
You
you what
could
the different
Name
attachments look
both
like.
a combat robot.
So
and
here's what Lolo Man
a
looks
person
like
Stella.
without
Good
any
job.
attachments on the front. As
I
you can see,
suppose
we've got
that's
the 5
true.
holes across the front.
We did it. We
You
figured it
can
out.
kinda see the little, I guess, it's not really a dovetail, but it's just kind of a little channel that is machined in the end. And so the attachments, like this is that front beater attachment. It just kind of
If we had a daughter, we should name her
snaps
Stella.
on there like
Yes.
that, and then the 5 holes or the 5 screws just hold it.
I'm
in
glad you
place.
agree.
So let me grab the other 2 attachments, and I'll show you what they look like.
Wait, was that what you wanted?
I don't have a
So
preference.
here is attachment number 2,
What?
which
I don't
is
really
the
have a preference. I
wedge.
think it would be nice
This
though.
wedge is probably about 11 inches wide overall.
As for
so
a
it is
robot,
quite long, and it is.
I'd probably want to
articulated,
name it
this is the
something
3D
like
printed prototype. I'm printing the real
stupid,
one right now,
like
100%.
big super
This is
robot.
made out of nylon G, which is the glass fiber reinforced
But
nylon.
I don't know
It does
what I would
sit
name it yet.
very tight to the floor, and you have these nice little wedges on the side that curve up, and it has these 2 bolts that basically run almost the whole length. They basically come into about here, so it isn't actually.
It's really
supported
funny
in the
putting you
middle.
on the
That
spot like that, I'm
shouldn't be
sorry.
much of an issue.
What?
I just have
It was
these
really
little
funny
wedge
putting
nubs
you on the
that
spot
screw
like
into
that.
Now you have to
front
answer the
side to
fucking
allow,
What?
question.
This to be
Damn it.
just to give you
Um,
how low this thing
I-
is overall. I've
Shit.
got psychotic break here,
Oh,
just as
no.
an example.
I
Goes
don't
right over top
I don't
of
know.
everything. Now if I go into the low configuration upside down, you can see that it hits about right
I'll be
top
waiting for your
there.
report
So
after
it will
class,
just
dear.
barely
Okay.
go right over top of it. So yeah, it is still very, very low. And psychotic brake hits
What if we called
relatively low, but
them
most spots will just go
Miki?
right over top
Miki?
of this.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be cute.
So let's see the
I'm glad we're sticking with the theming here.
Yeah.
And finally,
I'm not saying what if that one was for a person
we've
or
got
if
the
that was
wedge
for a
option.
robot,
If you
because it
just
works for either
absolutely
one.
need to get under
Well, I
your
feel like
opponent,
if we're gonna name a
Same with
robot,
Stella,
we
to
can't
be-
have it just be, if we're gonna name that
Same
for
with
a robot,
Stella,
we can't have it
honestly.
just to
and
be
it
Miki,
consists
because
of
there's
these
the
3
obvious
pieces.
thing that we should like
Basically
finish
got
it
the,
with.
wedge.
Finish?
Got the actual little
Yeah, it should
nut
be
here. These are the
Kuramiki,
same
not
nuts
just
that are
Miki.
used
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
the wedge, and then you have the other little wedgelet. And all these are 6061 aluminum, so these are all machined parts. I did all of the wedgelets and the front bar on my Tormach, and I did everything else on the Avid CNC. So that was kind of interesting to see the benefits between each one of these options. So yeah, that's what makes up the little wedgelets. And the tension or the looseness of these can definitely be adjusted with the nylon lock nut. Right now they're very loose, and it can drive off of them, which is good. But they're 100% mirrored, so it doesn't matter which way they go. They will always fall down to the floor. So that gives me the ability to do the wedgelets, the front bar, and then I also have, of course, the big beefy wedge. So that's pretty much all I wanted to say for this video in terms
Like,
of
I've
driving footage and stuff like that. Check back next week. I will have the fight recap for ARC airing then. I am
Yeah,
bringing
he
this
put it.
for
He fought
me
this boy in
next
a
weekend to ARC,
combat,
and that will be its first competition.
and it was
so I will have the full fight
very
recap.
interesting
I
to
will
watch
show
because
you
everyone
how
was
it
trying to
did
really
in that.
struggle
I am
against
also bringing psychotic break as
you know,
well, so I'll have a fight
Long
recap
Man for
that.
very-
Right,
You
it's
can check out my
Tombstone.
Facebook
It's
page,
Tiny
my YouTube
Tombstone,
channel,
yeah.
things like that. I will probably have some more videos on Lolo Man to show you how I made the chassis and everything like that. So be sure to check out that. And thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.
It's very cute. Next video is dangerous.
Oh boy.
Read it.
This episode of The Modern Rogue brought to you by Squarespace. Go to
Oh, dear.
squarespace.com/rogue. Use promo code rogue and get 10%
The deadly
off.
homemade
Help keep
pistol
us in
that smells
business.
like 8th grade.
Save money. Also, high quality product. Oh, there's also that.
What could be what? There's so many things that could be bad.
I keep expecting him to show up.
I have a
because I
guess.
realize We're gonna do the
I have a
alcohol
guess for
thing
what
with
would smell
no
like 8th
adult
grade from my
supervision at all.
experience.
You might be right.
I'm gonna miss you.
I bet it's Axe. Oh wait, I literally see Axe right down there. So yeah.
Yeah.
All right, when you pitched this, if I heard you right, it sounded like we're basically gonna make like a pistol version of an alcohol rocket, right?
It's so easy. Corey was making it way too hard. He was showing off with all of his prongs and his Satan.
These are always your famous last words. Super easy shoot, 15 minutes, and be done in no time.
Yeah.
I assume the idea is the same as always. You fill the vessel with some kind of combustible. Oh, Axe body spray, perfect. And then you have some kind of trigger. Now, in this case, we actually have a flame, but you don't need that. You just need the spark, something stoichiometry, and then it launches.
Something
off.
stoichiometry and then it works.
We got it.
That's it.
Good episode.
Yep. What do you think? How does it work?
Ooh, this is fun.
It's so simple.
Okay, so I assume, ooh, that fits nicely.
Perfectly,
so
right?
I'm gonna guess that.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. And so this is, what is that, maybe half inch, maybe? I guess I should have found out.
The phrase "How does this work?" is such as is just
That's
it,
fine.
it feels like we're watching two monkeys
175,
learning.
15, NSF, PWG.
Fine, but get this one.
So this fits all the way on. Do we need to seal this on here?
You know, just for extra safety's sake, we've got some epoxy. But what you might want to consider first
Safety.
is the length of this PVC barrel. It works better if the PVC is a little closer to the length of the lighter itself.
Got it.
So,
like you don't want a gigantic 3-foot
exactly,
long thing there.
because all of your fuel's going to be in here, and it'll be up here, right? But your light part, your spark, is like right down here.
So do we want to shorten this?
Yes.
Or, okay.
So we're going to want to cut it to about right there.
Okay.
You know?
What do we got for cutting?
The thing you're supposed to use for cutting.
I feel like Dad's out and we're
I
just
know.
we're like, I've seen him use this.
Here's some round scissors that your
What the-
daughter gave
what?
me.
It's a pipe cutter.
No, it was like skipping weirdly.
Oh, oopsie.
It always feels so satisfying.
really does. Hey, wait, now look at that. We can make two of them.
Yeah,
Actually, yeah.
I think that would work.
Yeah.
Totally.
Okay, cool. All right.
Perfect.
So,
Okay.
do you think we can get away with just tape?
I think we can get away with this as it is.
Yeah.
I really do, because it's
You
really
see,
snug.
like,
But
this
if
is
you
where we
wanna feel better about it,
differentiate
We can
ourselves.
put a little epoxy.
We
on
make,
it.
I make, we
That's
watch.
how Dad would do it.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
other people watch like
let's meet in
memes
the
or
middle and
whatever.
just at least
We watch how
put
to
some
make
tape on there,
weapons.
Yeah,
right?
I'll get some tape.
Because I agree.
pretty
like,
sure
what's
this
it-
is
like,
more-
The only
this
thing
is-
to be worried about is it blasting your fingers.
More
Should worry about
better content
Yeah, it's. I mean, it's really snug on there, and that's like.
This
I
is
think
better
it's belts and
content
suspenders. but
than
that. Yeah.
whatever dumb meme compilation you're gonna get.
I feel pretty good about that, right?
I think so.
Forget
So you're
memes. We
done?
can just do crime.
Okay. Wait. That's it. We did it.
That's pretty
We-
much
we,
it.
we just built a.
Crime.
I guess let's try it.
Yeah.
Sure.
Here, let's. Oh, hang on. We gotta.
Yeah.
We gotta fuel it.
Stoichiometry.
Like at some point, I feel like someone's gonna just like gift
There
me
you go.
like I
Okay.
don't know. Like
Alright.
I'm just gonna
No eye
say
protection
screw
or
it
nothing?
one
we're good.
stream and
3,
say like,
2,
oh,
1.
today we're gonna be reading the Anarchist Cookbook. I don't know.
Nice.
The entire room
Also-
Anarchist
smells
Cookbook
like Axe
ASMR.
body
Have you seen?
spray.
Do you know what the Anarchist Cookbook is,
That
Joe?
thing,
Yeah.
Yes.
That thing really wins.
Simplest.
They sell it at
film
Army
ever,
surplus
right?
stores,
Oh,
Heck
which
yeah.
I
Did
find
these
funny.
start to go bad?
Oh,
as-
probably. I didn't think about that.
I want to start wearing a mask.
Okay,
If
okay.
there's a chance they go bad, I can't believe how well that worked.
That was a very
This time,
easy
I guess-
project, actually.
Do you want to aim
Shoot
it?
me.
Like at a thing?
Oh,
you could
yeah.
take out many
Yeah,
of you, the changeling.
Yes. I hope it doesn't obliterate it, but I kind of hope it does obliterate it.
Yeah. Either way, he's gonna smell like Axe body spray.
I didn't know that you could do this ever. Did someone say the
This is
Anarchist
all you,
Cookbook?
okay?
Yes, I did.
Be careful, everyone. Take that, bad guy.
Aw.
Come on. Aw.
I think we waited too long. Hang on.
Oh wait, so do you need to do it fast so it like stays
Oh man, come on. Is it lighting?
stays
Okay, yeah.
like, you
It
know,
smells
like
eighth grade in
propellant.
there. Okay.
Probably.
Begone, fiend!
Oh.
Do we have more of the bottles?
Yeah. We could try mine.
What have you done?
We could try mine.
What have you done? What have you done?
We could try mine.
This is not an indoor shooty. This has to be an outdoor shooty.
Okay.
Because that's a real. Is that a real?
That's a real.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a
Outdoor teleportation. Clap, clap, go. Jason,
what like
did you not? Oh, walking.
Wasn't ready.
That was quaint. So first, I want to see just how much the blunt force is on this one.
Oh, okay.
How much?
This
are you
video has like a
putting in for the
Mythbusters
scope
vibe
value?
about it.
Not much. Just a little.
It's a good vibe, though.
spritz in there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure. Yeah, and give it a little poof. There you go. I see people do that. It's like blowing on dice or something.
Amicus brief.
it sort of works. It does. Like, this is basically like internet
I do feel safe giving
Mythbusters.
it
It's a
one
very
go. I do
cool
worry
feeling.
about this thing disintegrating
Yeah.
the more we do it.
About this?
Yeah, yeah.
Also, I just miss watching the Mythbusters.
I feel like I'm ready for the Halloween dance.
Okay, here we go. Encyclopedia awesome.
Come on.
WWCD. What would Corey do?
He'd already have a tank rolling up. All right, here we go.
All right.
By the spirit of Corey, you're dead.
Huh.
Here, you try it.
Okay.
It only worked like twice, and then it stopped working.
All right.
Story of my life, or something. I don't know what that means.
Wingardium GTFO.
Bunk.
Bonk.
You nicked his forehead. He's definitely got a headache.
Lower, lower. Do you want to try to hit him?
Yeah, let's see if we can just get him square between the eyes.
Yeah, I was like, this is mainly my favorite type because it's like, oh, they have the ability to make engineering items, and they're just gonna
Not the gift of knowing.
probably not be the smartest about it. Not like I mind, obviously.
Don't. Yeah, you blow into it. You don't.
Yeah.
It's like okay.
Right in the face.
Ah, come on! Come on! I got him! Ah.
No,
I think we're.
too much air.
I don't have a theory.
Okay. Now,
This- you want this
yeah,
one?
sure.
All right.
Oh,
Oh, jeez! What's funny, I was holding this up like bug spray. If he was gonna get angry and come at me, I was gonna mace him.
because can't you make like a flamethrower out of
That was
like an
square in
aerosol
the
like
face,
this?
dude.
Yes.
This is
Have you tried it?
No, but I've
About
watched people do
shooting
it.
yourself in the face.
Who-
Sleep now, Prince.
How related
I
were
swear.
those
Now we have to
people?
find out just how bad it can get.
To
It
you.
was at a
So
distance.
this
I was
is
not part of their
identical,
group,
the
but I was
exact
sure
same
watching
thing.
them do it.
Except for you.
I sure
hot
watched
glued
one of them
actual
set the
very,
other one's
very
hair on
sharp
fire.
Very,
tip.
very sharp.
Okay.
May have
Sounds
hurt
like the
myself.
place
There may
you
have been
came
an
from
injury
was
recently.
pretty fucked up.
Okay. Okay. For
That's
safety
that's
and
what
sense, we're gonna
happens when you have a graduating class of
downrange
40
away
people,
from
dear.
people in cars. Have you named her?
No, I have not. What's a good one?
Die-T Coke.
I'm thinking about that one and
Here we go. Here we
getting increasingly worried.
Yeah.
go.
It took me a minute. I'm like, oh, you mean you had a small school?
Yes.
But also, it missed entirely.
Oh dear.
Oh,
Oh my.
I kind of want to see it stab something.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right,
All right, all right,
Wife likes
you
to
wanna do
see
it?
No,
things
you
get
get it right,
impaled.
Just go right in the face.
Okay,
Dude,
okay,
okay.
okay.
Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Here we go.
I'm
What?
ready.
I don't like to watch.
There you go. Careful.
I like to
bouncies.
participate.
You like to impale?
Jeez.
It definitely bounced.
No,
Did it get him?
I don't know. I
He
haven't
fucking
done
hit
it
him
enough to
square in
really
the
have a
eyes,
say.
And he definitely
Enough.
lost his head.
Or at all.
See that this foam is
That is-
just so bouncy.
That it's too
It had to have punctured.
You would think, right?
Oh, that dude is dead.
I saw.
It wasn't the only time a student in
I
my
saw
class
11
got his hair
Dead.
set on
No
fire.
way.
What?
It's like the Zapruder film.
As far as I'm aware, it happened twice.
Oh!
Yeah, oh, yeah.
There it is. There it is.
After
Oh!
our Warren Commission. can
The
now
other time was in
establish
cooking class.
Oh my god.
shooter,
Look at that.
lone gunman.
Oh, wow.
That would hurt.
Oh.
I think it would have pierced flesh.
Yeah, dude. The Diet Coke.
The Diet Coke. K-O-A-K. Diet, so we won't get sued.
Oh, got it.
You know.
Yeah. Because that's why we're going to get sued. It's for trademark infringement.
All right, Brian, there's something happening with the Modern Rogue website.
Number one,
It
there is
scares
always
me. I
something
like
happening
it.
over at
These guys are
modernrogue.com.
fun.
The beauty of
And they
Squarespace
learn,
is that
and
we
I mean,
constantly
it's
get
not usually
upgraded.
just
We
like,
get to keep it beautiful. We get to take advantage of stuff like their new video blocks that makes it even faster to load up videos, the members only section, and the fact that it ties in with social media, especially because you're more of an Instagram guy, I'm more of a Twitter guy, but
They
all
just
of
do
us,
interesting
harmonious
things.
in there.
24/7
And I can't believe it was that easy
You
to
can
make a
build your own
bottle
website
rocket.
without
That
moving.
like
Percent off and keep us in business.
we're back.
Be
OBS
smarter than
crashed. It's
Einstein.
okay.
Yeah, it's easy.
Besides, we were in the middle of an ad read.
And link in the description below.
It's okay.
I had
Oh.
breakfast cereal,
Oh,
and I
it did.
watched Miami
Yeah,
Vice.
it did for a minute. Don't worry.
Like
It's
the
fine now.
original?
Yeah. Ed O'Neill was the guest star.
Ed O'Neill from Married with Children? Was he a drug dealer?
No, he was a Vice guy who got in too deep, and they weren't sure whether or not he's turned to the bad side.
Married with Children was him going into the witness protection program.
Cloud computing is taking
Oh, here we go.
over. Demand
How
continues to rise
Amazon-
from both
oh, how
companies and
Amazon Cloud
consumers that
works.
rely on remote storage and computing power accessible from anywhere. Tech giants Google, Microsoft, IBM, and others are vying to be the go-to
This is how the
providers.
cloud works,
But
Joe.
one company has remained the
The
leader.
cloud.
The
Amazon.
cloud.
AWS
I thought it
has a
made it. I
demanding
thought it made
lead
rain
in
happen.
the
Well,
cloud.
yeah, that is
In
a
fact,
cloud.
if you
Cloud
add up
clouds do
number
make
2,
rain
3,
happen.
4, and 5,
Clouds also make
they
internet
add up
happen?
to
Yes.
What AWS does.
Amazon
Wow,
Web
what kind of
Services
magic
is
is
behind
that?
a lot of the technology we use, from calling a Lyft to checking
Thunder
your video
magic.
doorbell to streaming your
Oh,
favorite shows.
wow, that's
People are
cool.
watching
Yeah, it's cool.
a Prime movie, or they're watching a Netflix movie, or a Hulu movie, or others like that. They're watching it and streaming off of Amazon Web Services. The Super Bowl streams off us, and also Major League Baseball, and now NASCAR and Formula One racing as well. If you use Intuit to do your taxes, that runs on AWS.
AWS has been one of Amazon's most profitable
House.
business endeavors.
House.
Last year, AWS generated more than $25 billion in sales. Plus, they're still growing like
Mum,
crazy. Get this up
magic.
47%.
In the first quarter of this year,
guess.
revenue climbed to $7.7 billion, up from $5.44
Tech
billion
glitch
a year
magic.
earlier.
Yes.
We have over 2.2 million customers using AWS today. They're usually big companies like Goldman Sachs or Capital One. There's over 4,000 government agencies that run on us today.
Big company.
Companies left and right are abandoning their own data centers for Amazon's or other cloud providers. But moving all of that data
That sounds like
online
a bad
can be
idea.
challenge.
Transfer fees for moving
Yes,
data over
but
the
not for
can be quite high. And also, it can take a
not
while
for
petabytes and petabytes and
not from a cost
measure,
not from a cost perspective.
So Amazon built physical products.
Yeah,
to
but
make
from every
transferring
other
large amounts of
perspective.
data easier.
No, yeah, no, it's
Portable
terrible. You're
data
right.
transfer device capable of operating in a war zone called Snowball, and even a giant truck called Snowmobile to help companies migrate their data to the cloud.
Why are they called snow related?
Exabytes of data. We have a lot of customers who have exabytes of data. And the first thing that came to mind was, we're going to need a bigger box.
Oh, that's a long truck. Oh yeah, how does it just like
So why would a company need to move to a cloud service
Yeah.
provider like AWS?
Most of our customers save between 22 and 54% versus running all in, building their own data center, building their own networks, powering
Sounds
it,
like they should
having
probably
people
all build their
operate
own data
it.
One of the
centers and
biggest
networks.
reasons
But that
that
costs like,
people,
but the
look to
problem
the
is that
cloud
that
is not
costs
necessarily
effort
cost,
and other people to
but
do it.
around
And oh my God,
flexibility.
you now
Developers
have to
need
manage a
access
new.
to,
I don't know.
massive
It's like
amounts, of
you have to
No,
manage
if
another
only
thing.
if only we could
and
slash
networking
like half of
resource.
our CEO's
AWS says it has
budgets
the largest global
or
infrastructure
Oh,
footprint
yeah.
of any cloud
paychecks, and
provider,
then wow,
meaning it has
suddenly it
data
doesn't
centers
feel
placed
as
in regions around the globe where there is
suddenly it
concentrated
doesn't
demand.
feel as crazy
It has
cost
the
effective
capacity to
anymore.
allow companies
Suddenly
to
we have
tap
way
into
more
more
money.
service
Where'd all that
space
come
depending on
from?
their needs.
When they have a big retail day, they can use
Huh.
a million
I don't
servers
like big
when their
companies
normal
as
load
far
is,
as
say,
as
40 or
everyone
50
can
or
tell.
60 servers. And so the ability to do
You like
that
small family
is
businesses,
astronomically expensive
Like
to go
ours.
on-prem.
like
That's why you
ours.
see the startups growing so
We did
fast
it. We
on
figured. I figured
because
out the joke.
They get the access to a Fortune 500 infrastructure for pennies on the dollar.
Netflix, for example, has always used
Ooh.
Amazon as its cloud provider.
Mm.
But for a company that wants to migrate its data to the cloud, typically a massive data transfer needs to take place. Some companies have hundreds of terabytes, petabytes, and even exabytes of data. For some perspective on how big that is, your average MP3 song is about 3 megabytes. A gigabyte is about 1,000 megabytes, or around 300 songs. A terabyte is about 1,000 gigabytes, or 300,000 songs. A petabyte is 1,000 terabytes, or 300 million songs. And an exabyte is around 1,000 petabytes, or 300 billion songs. A single MP3 file might take a few seconds to transfer over the internet. 300 million or billion, however, might take a while.
It's often
Yeah.
called in IT the python eating a pig problem. So if you imagine a python, you can visualize it eating a pig. You got this big lump that you have to move through the python.
Oh.
So you have a little network and you've got a big lump to move, okay?
Tsuchinoko.
And so
Tsuchinoko.
customers, it would have taken them years and years to upload their data.
Tsuchinoko real. Look at it go.
Amazon has tried to solve this problem of cost and time.
The
by
internet
creating
is just a
really
series
tough
of
hardware
Tsuchinokos.
called snowballs, which people who operate data centers can
I like that.
connect their infrastructure to, make copies of the data, and then send those snowballs to AWS data centers so that the data can be moved more quickly.
Oh yeah.
The smallest storage snowball we have is about 50 terabytes. That's 5,000 DVDs. And the largest snowballs we have is
It's actually kind of messed up.
14,000 DVDs.
It's actually faster
We work with
to
our Lab
ship
126
them
folks on the
like a
industrial
box.
design, our Kindle folks on the e-ink label.
You know?
So imagine if you're shipping hundreds of these, you could easily
weird,
put
I
the
don't
wrong
like
label,
it.
put them in the wrong box.
This
Doesn't happen. It's all automated.
concerns me.
No
all
It
of
actually
this.
takes more time to like
And,
transfer
my
something
boss,
over the internet,
Charlie
like
Bell,
using the
worked on
fastest
the
cables
space shuttle.
possible, than
He
it is
actually
just
used
to
some things
send
off the
them
space
basically a
shuttle
big ol'
where
hard
they have to
drive
handle the shock of
and then just get it
launching
shipped
and landing.
back.
Vast said designing the snowball to withstand the rigors of transit was not an easy task, since it had to be highly durable as well as less than 50 pounds.
We actually went to our
Less than
shipping
50
partners,
pounds.
and we also went
Oh.
to the fulfillment center and talked
Shipping,
to them.
that's
so
why.
from that, we learned a really hard problem to solve is that it had to be under 50 pounds. We also wanted people to be able to check it as regular luggage, and that's actually a hard design constraint to make something as durable as that and as dense compute and storage in under 50 pounds.
The
Wait,
snowball
what?
even
They
passed an
they
explosives
consider
test
to keep it
and
in
meets
like
the military's
checking?
requirements for being airdropped.
That's a lot.
To meet the specifications,
Thank you, Joe.
we have to drop the snowball from
Yeah.
28 feet 80 times on all four corners and all six sides. And then because
Just
we
wanna
built
make
it
sure
so
people know.
robustly,
I know.
We were able to also pass the
Brandon will
DoD
back me
large
up here.
explosive
We-
test
no,
where
we-
you
we-
have
we know.
83 pounds of plastic explosive going off 20 feet from the device multiple times, which is a tremendous percussion wave that would turn your insides to jello if you were standing there. You know, it would kill you.
And
It's cool
temperature-wise,
watching it,
it's
though. It's
designed
cool
for the
watching
most
this brick
extreme environments.
It can operate at
workflow.
really high temperatures,
Talking about
like
turning
140
people into
degrees
jelly?
ambient temperature, and really cold temperatures like minus 20.
Yeah.
And it can have unconditioned power from a generator, and it'll continue to operate.
For
Ooh,
customers
durable.
calmly transferring data from the safety of their office, this could all seem like overkill. But in certain instances, it's proven critical.
When the volcano was going off in Hawaii, USGS used the snowballs. They had local servers, and the lava was coming up on their building. And so they didn't want to lose all that extremely valuable data they've collected. They also knew the snowballs could operate in high temperature environments, and so they shipped the snowballs there, downloaded the data, and shipped the snowballs out.
Oh,
And so
wow.
they were able to capture all that data without losing it. Oil rigs is another area we see a lot of them. Military, they're very, very popular. So they're used in forward deploy units, they're used on Navy ships, they're used in aircraft, they're used in special ops locations all over the world for cybersecurity, where they're collecting network data and reacting to it locally. There's even a 6-micron dust filter option you can snap on the front, so if you're operating them in a desert, they can filter the sand out and not have the sand go into the device.
Even Hollywood has started taking advantage of Amazon's Snow family.
For studio shoots, they're shooting in 8 and 12K cameras now.
Snow fam.
And so that's a
Like the
lot
little
of data.
snowman.
And
Snow-
so they
little
put
snow-
it on the
snow
snowballs,
child.
and you can
Snow
see the
child.
screens on the front there are used for quality control. When they're done with the shoot, they actually ship the snowball back, and it uploads the data into the cloud, and then they post-process it.
There's another, I would call it the upper cell.
Oh, it has like a
version,
little
which is the
tablet on it.
Snowball Edge, and that's a 100 terabyte solution. Now, the interesting thing about Snowball Edge is you can actually put compute on there and
Jill.
actually run workloads.
You're welcome.
AWS was the first public cloud provider to make hardware like this for data transfer. But competitors have since developed similar
I like this cool brick.
Microsoft is the #2 player in the
I don't
public cloud
trust
market
this
behind
brick.
AWS.
I like the
It
cool
has a
brick.
data box
Ooh, that one looks like a
that have
cooler
room
brick.
for 1 petabyte of data, making
Cool
it larger
brick.
than what Google and IBM offer today.
I just realized that it
Google
has the
Cloud
shipping
behind
label on the
AWS
outside of it,
Microsoft Azure has
so
transfer
you don't even
which are
like put it in a box.
that you can install inside
You just
the
send
data center.
it. No, that's I'm interested in that fact.
The one that
It just has the shipping
AWS
label on it,
is
so it just can be shipped as is, and
But
surprisingly
AWS
not
is
be
the only
have
company that
problems.
felt like it needed
I
to
hope
go
that some
even
the
bigger.
third party will make a
Snowmobile has
box.
the equivalent of 1,250
Big,
snowballs.
big one.
And so it's what we call a 100 petabyte truck.
Big truck.
Put in context how much data a snowmobile can take. Let's say this typical notebook is 500 gigabytes. 100 petabytes would be
It's not a
200
snowmobile, that's a truck.
million notebooks that
That's
get
not a snowmobile.
ingested into this Mac truck.
Digital Globe.
And
had
also
this
it fits into a
challenge where
shipping
they had a
container,
huge
so
amount
that's
of satellite
interesting.
imagery. They're one of the largest producers in the world of satellite imagery. And so it would have taken them about 10 years to upload it over the network. And they were actually the first customer that called us and said, hey, can't you just send a truck? And so we built one.
We'll
Big
drive the truck up to your data center. We have power and network fiber that will connect to your data center. You fill her up, and then the truck will come back, put the trailer back on the truck, and we'll move it back to AWS. If you think about the idea of moving an exabyte of data, if you basically assign a 10 gigabit per second line to it, which is pretty reasonable, it would take you about 26 years. Using 10 snowmobiles, it would take you a little less than 6 months.
I remember a few
That's
years ago, AWS
not
announced
bad,
the
I guess,
snowmobile
in the
by
long
driving it onto a stage
term
at an
idea.
AWS event. And people just went nuts. They were like, what? How could a cloud be a truck? And it was cool. It was innovative. But
That's
it's
not a
like
cloud, it's a
we've
truck.
heard about the snowmobile being a huge business hit. It's not like the snowmobile is what's making up most of AWS's revenue. Far from it.
AWS would not disclose how many customers have used a snowmobile to make a transfer, or how many trucks it has in service. We weren't able to see the inside of the truck because the technology is safely guarded, but it's essentially a data center on wheels. Snowmobile uses what Amazon calls zero-G racks, which suspend the system from both the top and the bottom of the truck to handle the impacts while in motion. And
We're
it
not
has
allowed
its
to
own
look at
power
what's
and
in the
cooling.
truck. That's weird.
Once the
Yeah.
transfer is complete, the truck enters transport mode. An armed guard and an escort accompany the truck as it returns to Amazon's data centers for the upload. Its location is monitored over
requires a-
cellular and satellite communications throughout the entire journey. Amazon intentionally
This
left the
feels
truck
so
devoid of
sinister.
branding to keep it discreet.
When it connects to the AWS ingestion
Yeah.
center, the data is decrypted and hashed to validate it. And
Oh,
then
it's
once
like
the
a
data's
s-
all unloaded, and you validated it's unloaded. There's none of the
Oh,
snowballs
you know
set
what?
up for another run for
Jill, I get it. It's kind of like the
Just as Amazon has disrupted retail with its e-commerce business, the snow
It's like the
products are an
digital
example
version
of
of
how
like
the
an
company has
armored,
become
like a
forced to
armored
reckon with
truck
in the cloud
for like
computing
for like
industry
money.
as well.
they're continually
It's like the digital version of that. Same idea. Yeah, keep in mind a lot of this data is valuable.
Like networking. They have the
So like this is like valuable or
Yeah, but Amazon shouldn't have all of this
range
data.
Machine learning's offering
Look, that's where what it's all coming
we
back to for
deployed
me.
1,440 new products and services. We deployed 1,900.
I'm giving a pat on the head.
That was
It's
in
okay.
2018. I'm sure we will beat that in
It's okay.
2019. So innovation has been.
We'll burn them down later. It's fine.
Security has been a key point. Our systems are the only cloud that's certified.
That's our honeymoon.
The intelligence agencies
That's our
and
honeymoon.
type clouds, top secret.
We burned down
compartmented
Amazon's headquarters.
And we continue to have just a wide variety. We have the most number of databases available to our
I
customers.
like the tech. I don't like what it's being used. I mean, I don't like the company that's using it, but I think it's cool by itself.
In addition to that, we've just been doing it longer than
Cool looking.
So we have these years and years.
It's just a brick that you put. It's like the best external hard drive ever. Toho game, but you break up monopolies. Well, that is
literally the newest.
That's
Toho
the
game.
newest one, right?
a
Oh, this one's
design
the high cost
that
of free
puts
parking.
12,000
That's
people
literally what
in
Unconnected
one
Marketeers is
building.
about.
Yeah.
4 months before he died in 2011,
Oh, this video is about
Steve Jobs made his
Mr.
final
Jobs.
public appearance, pitching Apple's new campus, which opened this year. Central to his vision was turning existing parking lots into a green landscape.
The overall feeling of the place is going to be a zillion times better than it is now with all the asphalt. So we'd like to plant a lot of trees, including some apricot orchards.
But Jobs didn't mention that the new parking structure on campus would have more floor space than the office building. That's because it wasn't Apple's plan. The decision came from the city of Cupertino, which demanded 11,000 parking spots for the campus. But Cupertino is hardly unique.
How? What?
It's estimated that in America, there are 8 parking spots for every car, covering up to 30% of our cities and collectively taking up about as much space as the state of West Virginia. The more parking we
Imagine
have,
parking in
the
West
more we're able
Virginia.
to drive. So the rules that manage our parking not
Can't believe
only
West
influence
Virginia
the way
is
we
just a
move
big
around,
parking
It's
lot,
just a
but
big
also
part.
shape
It's just
urban
nothing but
landscapes.
asphalt. I can't believe what they did to it. It's just asphalt from the. I can see it's completely flat too. Like you can't. It's just.
If you look at
wow.
pictures of the American cities around 1920 and 1930, all of the curbs are just completely filled with parked cars. And they couldn't use prices to manage demand because the parking meter wasn't even invented until 1935.
This is Donald Shoup, an urban planning professor at University of California, Los Angeles.
I just realized that we're watching a video. Someone has managed to get us to watch a video about
Cities in the early
zoning
20th
laws.
century, 2 inventions came to dominate
And,
parking management throughout the United States. The first was the parking meter.
The meter
I'm filled with
manufacturers
small
popularized
amounts
the
of
parking
dread.
meters, so they offered them free to cities, and they kept the revenue until the meter was paid for in about 6 months, and then the city got all the revenue. They offered to install them on one side of the street only, so people could see how it worked on one side and how it worked on the other. At the same time the parking meter was invented, cities invented the idea of off-street parking requirements.
Off-street parking requirements, also known as mandatory parking minimums, are the second invention. And though you may not be aware of them, most of the parking lots you're used to exist because of these rules in the background.
Look at any place from the air, any suburban place from the air, you'll see an awful lot of land taken up for parking. And most people don't know why. It's our policy that we require our cities to be built with a lot of parking.
With suburbanization after World War II, off-street parking requirements became popular with city governments. They forced developers to include parking for their new buildings, which created a huge supply of parking at no cost to the city.
Off-street parking requirements really spread throughout the United States faster than almost any other urban planning invention. They arose partly because of the lack of management of on-street parking. If you can't manage the on-street parking properly, you need off-street parking requirements, or everybody will say, how did you let this building be built when there's not enough parking?
A typical requirement looks like this. For every 1,000 square feet of new building, there has to be a set number of parking spots, which varies by land use.
You have to have parking spaces per something. There could be a number of spaces per bassinet in a hospital, or per holes in a golf course.
So this is literally zoning
or
laws.
1,000 gallons of water in a swimming pool. One of the oddest ones is for a funeral home, because that's sort of the, parking spaces per what?
An average parking spot requires about 330 square feet, which includes car storage and empty space, allowing the car to move in and out and for doors to open. That means if a policy requires 3 spots per 1,000 square feet, the parking lot needs to be the size of the building, and many parking requirements need more spots. A restaurant may need 10 spots per 1,000 square feet, making the parking lot over 3 times larger than the restaurant.
Planners don't have any training in how to set them. There's really no way to say how much parking every building needs. So there's a pseudoscience that has grown up. It's like bloodletting, which was a major form of medical treatment for a couple thousand years. And they look just like parking requirements today.
Building parking is expensive, especially when it involves a large construction project.
We pay for the
I was wondering how they did this.
in every role
But it
we
makes
have
sense,
in
right?
life other than as a driver, as a taxpayer,
Guess so.
as a
Yeah.
resident, as a shopper.
It's like,
And just
it's
because
basically
you pay
zoning
nothing
laws.
at the parking lot
Yeah,
of the
much
grocery
like the
store
last
doesn't mean the
video
cost
making
goes
me
away.
think about how corporations
still
are
there.
bad. This
It's just
video
that
is
the
just making me
driver
think of
isn't paying
man.
for it.
How city planning is...
Developers who don't comply with
This is actually
No,
tough,
it's-
actually.
thousands of dollars
No,
in
no, it's
fees
more
for
making me
every
think of
spot that
man.
they don't include.
Need more
A lot of
trains.
times,
What if we
these
didn't have
costs
cars?
prohibit new development.
This is
Yeah,
the
what if we had
most
trains?
valuable land on Earth.
I like
Land is expensive for housing, but it's free for parking. And you wonder why we have a problem?
Parking requirements often result in more parking space than building space, pushing buildings further apart from each other, making it harder to walk and encouraging more driving. Many of the dense
Hey, that's
cities that we
hey,
love,
wait, that
like
was
Paris
Boston.
or Washington, D.C., or Amsterdam or New York wouldn't look like this with parking requirements. These arbitrary rules continue to shape the growth of our cities and increase traffic congestion.
Yeah, see, look,
But the
like,
excessive amount of
Back
land
Bay.
dedicated to parking is able to be repurposed.
We have terrific opportunity.
If there's
to
3
convert
parking
unused
spots for every car, why is it
into
so
housing
fucking
for
impossible
people
to
who
park
live.
in Boston?
The upside is that we have a lot of benefits to
because
to
there are more
reap
cars than
from
people in
changing our
Boston? I don't know. Something like that.
Well, to boil an 800-page book down into 3 bullet points, I have 3 basic recommendations. Remove off-street parking requirements, charge the right price for on-street parking, by which I mean the lowest price the city can charge, and still have 1 or 2 open spaces on every block. So nobody can say there's a shortage of parking. In order to reach that price, you have to vary it by location and time of day. But once you've done that, make it politically popular and spend the revenue on public services on the metered streets.
Hey, public services.
Well, I'm worn out.
Goodbye. All right,
So
now for that
trains.
video that I know and really, really like.
I've never seen this one. So, you're gonna...
I love this guy.
Where
Love
housing
this
spaces
channel.
are tiny and nighttime silence is a hard rule, nightlife activities make up an enormous portion of their economy. Sleeping out in cheap capsule hotels or even in internet cafes is common, as is spending hours drinking out beforehand. It's in this environment where gaming bars, or
Zelda.
gaming cafes if you want to call them that, caught on, which combine the concepts of Japan's tiny, regulars-dependent bars with their famous arcades. Except unlike the arcades, which are specifically regulated to close early and keep vices away
Love
from the
Live.
kids, these bars can stay
Sega.
open late, serve as much alcohol as they want, and provide the typically
Space
tethered
Channel
home
5.
console gaming
Smash Brothers.
experience while out and about. They're typically small businesses buried deep inside buildings whose only street-facing signage has to share garishly advertised spaces with competing businesses. But climb your way inside and you'll discover a cozy, otherworldly nook draped in retro gaming decor. Notable Tokyo examples include Game Bar A Button, 8-Bit Cafe, and the secret members-only Nintendo-themed 8-4. Which, like quite a few of these bars, became a hangout spot for the game developers that created this imagery in the first place.
Oh god, Eiji
Those
Aonuma.
people are their demographic, not just hardcore game fans, but insiders, professionals, and workers, game developers, musicians, and media. When I was hanging out at 8-Bit, half the crowd were specifically there for the Tokyo Game Show. In Japan, where gaming shares a bit more
Hey,
of
look,
the
Super
mainstream
Potato.
pop culture zeitgeist, that niche audience can be a profitable one. But that goes without speaking of the expats.
It's Super
Western foreigners
Potato.
who primarily speak
Yep.
English are catered to as well, though you may have to leave Tokyo to feel more at home abroad. East meets West in few places more so than the Osaka TripAdvisor staple, Space Station, an expat gaming bar owned and operated by Mr. Matt Bloch.
Once you get the visa issues out of the way, again, the hardest part, it was a pretty smooth process of opening this bar. Bars have very little in the way of alcohol regulation in Japan, so compared to the States and most other countries I'm familiar with, opening a bar is quite easy. You don't need a liquor license per se. You open 24 hours. If you were sent like tomorrow, I could just run the bar 24 hours if I wanted. When I got it into my mind that I should open a video game bar, there was only one other video game bar in town. We're talking 2010 or so. A second video game bar opened up while I was in the process of, getting my ducks in a row. So when I opened mine, I was only the third video game bar in town. And in the past 7 years, yes, it's exploded into several dozen. I stopped keeping count. I used to keep a very accurate count and visit each video game bar as I learned of them, but I eventually stopped.
Like I said earlier, Space Station is a TripAdvisor staple, a really popular spot. Matt's business has landed on the itinerary of many Osaka tourists and regulars since 2012, but 2 hours by train away is its energetic younger cousin, Critical Hit, lorded over since 2014 by the animated Alex Fraioli.
I was coming up on the age of 30, and I realized I was still sort of making the same money and doing the same thing I had when I came to Japan when I was 22. And
I like trains.
And around that time, I had been visiting a video game bar in a nearby town, the town of Ichinomiya. The bar is called Genesis, a very great place. And I'm like, I just want to do that. Like that seems like fun. This guy has a lot of fun. I have fun when I hang out there. It seems like a nice place for people to go. So I started saving money, and every time I visited home, I would mail myself a box of games until it was all over here, and that's the short version. Even on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, which are typically slow nights, I could get a group of 4, 5, 6 salarymen who come in and, they're going to play Smash Brothers for 4 hours on the N64, or Mario Party, or Mario Kart. I would say it's about 50-50. Half of my income was probably from Japanese salarymen who came just to play games and then socialize with their coworkers, and the other half is just the regulars who come for the atmosphere and to hang out and to talk to their friends.
But there was always an uncertainty hanging over the head of these businesses. They traditionally operate entirely separately from the video game industry, avoiding the need, plus the license, to limit their theming towards one developer or console. Copyrighted names and imagery plaster the walls by necessity, which may not be much of an issue compared to the copyrighted names showing up on their cocktail lists. But the biggest liability was always the games themselves, shelved away in the seating areas or stacked high against the walls. Collections of cartridges and discs are sometimes available to play, starting with the ubiquity of an ever-present Famicom. So the business model of a game bar blurs the lines between bars themselves, arcades, and even a bit of rental stores, all of which operate under different regulations that aren't exactly compatible, if not even legally allowed in Japan at all. Japan is super lenient about alcohol. You don't even need a liquor license to open one of these bars, but for when copyright complaints come on down high from corporate, their legal system gives far less leeway.
Renting games in Japan has been illegal since, I think, 1983, when, guess who? Nintendo stepped in and said, no, we can't have people renting games. And the government said, oh, of course, right away. What was I thinking? So you can't rent games. It's been illegal for 35 years. Japanese companies are very much seen as blameless, holy things that can just do whatever they want. They don't really care that much about engaging with customers outside of basic advertisements, but I think that's why a lot of the larger Japanese companies get it into their head that we own these copyrights, and they do. We own these copyrights. We can say when you can see these images, when in people's day-to-day life, that's just not how it is. Like, Nintendo is a thing that for years people just, clueless parents would refer to every video game as Nintendo. Oh, I'm gonna buy my son the new Nintendo, holding a Sega Genesis.
The first of these bars popped up in the mid-2000s, when 20-something 80s nostalgia was in full bloom. But by the end of the decade, their future was already in jeopardy. In 2011, they were sent a notice by Japan's ACSS, the Association of Copyright for Computer Software.
That's such a cute little thing for the worst organization.
With a lineup of software companies
like the little guys holding a CD. I liked it.
The protection of their copyright.
Except when it was saying don't copy that floppy, I'm like, well, how dare you?
Group, like the Entertainment Software Association, except even more straight-laced and official.
What my understanding of the situation is that, according to the law, it is illegal to display copyrighted images from video game software on a TV or monitor in a public place or a place of business.
The last time
What?
ACCS did anything about video game bars,
What?
to my knowledge, was a few weeks before I opened the bar. I opened it in April 2011, and there was a bar in Shibuya, Tokyo, called Famicom City, and they were made to shut down just a few weeks.
Was it
before
because
I
of the name
opened the
Famicom?
establishment. It is thought that with a name like Famicom City, they really put themselves in the crosshairs.
Ha.
Like in 2011, the ACCS sent out a letter to video game
Right.
bars saying, "Hey, guess what? You can't have these games. It's illegal." Everybody ignored it, and people, went about their business. Side note: people ignored it because copyright law is not really effectively enforced in Japan until now. You can go to any bar or restaurant or cafe. They're going to be showing movies, TV, sporting events, music concerts, and they don't have the rights for those. They are breaking the law. Cops are not breaking down Komeda Coffee and arresting a dude because they're showing a variety show on TV. It's just a thing that nobody cares about.
It was under this pressure that I noticed the trick that the 8-bit game bar in Tokyo was using by displaying a retail display version of the Super Famicom. Technically not a home console, but even then, in middle 2016, there was less in there to play than what previous reviews had reported in the past.
Interesting.
The video game bars, well, there's been an explosion of them, especially in Osaka. They've really ramped up, like the rate at which they've increased over the past 2 or 3 years.
That's a
It was
cute
a
table,
case
too.
of a subversive idea getting too popular to go unnoticed by the authorities. In 2013, game bars started popping up all over Japan, especially in Osaka. They were getting bigger and fancier, with newer games and cutting-edge consoles whose free-play display was now skirting the line with retail itself. These bars didn't exactly resemble the small retro-themed hangouts I've named and listed, but rather something that could actually function as a cheap loophole around buying a hot new release $60 video game.
In my mind, there's a new generation of video game bar that is on a larger scale than previous incarnations of the video game bar concept. Not just larger in size, though they are, but also the way they're set up inside. Like, you might have 8 Wii U's or 8 Switches all in a row to play Splatoon and Splatoon 2 respectively.
In April of 2018,
It's interesting to
three of these
have
larger scale style
all, like,
operations
so many
decided
Japanese,
to
like,
just not
build
renew their lease and
companies
shut
or
down. But the chilling effect felt
restaurants
in the
have,
smaller
like,
corner of the
try
industry
to
really
do
turned
loopholes
into a
like this.
blizzard in June, when 4 bar owners were arrested. Their games confiscated, bagged, and laid out like crime scene evidence. Worse yet, the Japanese owners who were arrested were operating bars that didn't resemble the large-scale operations, but rather something closer to Matt and Alex's expat neighborhood bars, but for a more domestic audience. To be fair, I see 1 PS4 and 2 Wii U's, but the vast majority of this confiscated collection looks like historical relics. And for a lack of a better word, that scared the shit out of the whole cottage industry. Amusement Bar Colorful and Game Bar Fanati decided to shelve away the video games and replace them with card and board games. Game Bar Clance likewise reopened, but announcing, in true Japanese fashion, apologies for copyright infringement. They'll attempt to stay open as a game-themed bar without actual playable video games. Meanwhile, the other rated bar, Game Bar Equilit, seems to have just decided to shut down. Their Twitter is locked up and their websites are offline. But remember the 3 larger scale operations that were said to have shut down in April? Well, actually, they're mostly back. This time more as internet cafe concepts with computer gaming rather than console gaming. And in this kind of business in this part of the world, Western indie multiplayer PC games really stick out of the crowd. And for the time being during the making of this video, Matt and Alex have decided to comply.
I have a pretty heavy emphasis on you can play games here. Now you can't. So that's kind of hit me business-wise. Like I mentioned earlier, I've probably lost about half my business for the time being. As to why people are just giving up, Japanese places are giving up and getting rid of games, I think, I don't know for sure. My guess is that there's this Japanese mentality of shogunai. It can't be helped. Like, a bad thing is happening. Oh, well, I'm just screwed. And people are kind of reluctant to actually fight back or try to make a difference or change something because they think that they can't. And I'm not saying that's the case for all these places, but I'm saying it's a part of the Japanese mentality that I've seen before. And honestly, I can't blame them when the threat of legal action is over their heads. Like, yeah, you should, yeah, maybe this is at least temporarily you can give up the games for now.
I was closed for about a month. I recently reopened. And, well, obviously business was affected in the month that I couldn't conduct it. The bar's been marked as closed on Google Maps and the like, such that when I reopened,
why does ET have a little
there's
penis?
been some lag. There's going to be more lag as people plan their trip. Most of my customers are, or at least half of my customers are travelers. So if they're planning their
The
trip,
sprite looked like it had a little
month in
thingy hanging
advance, a
out.
few weeks in advance, they see the bars marked as closed. Well, they might not stop by at all. But I expect after some lag period,
You're adorable and funny like that.
better.
So
Thank
I want
you,
to meet with a specialized, a specialist, a copyright lawyer who specifically knows this branch of Japanese law and who can tell me in very clear terms, you can do this, you can't do this. And if I can have games back, that would be great. I think at the bare minimum, I can have handhelds. You know, it's a personal portable screen. It's your thing.
While they're operating without one of their most famous features, these bars are looking for
We
a way
hate
to bring
this
them
shit
back
just as
by
much as
looking
you
to strike
do.
a deal with the forces that otherwise would want them out.
That's
At the moment,
good name.
there is no license available to video game bars to operate legitimately, and I don't imagine the video game companies being persuaded to provide such a license. But that would be great if they did and made something affordable somehow. I just don't see it happening. I would be very happy to purchase such a license if I could remain viable as a business, right? It would.
Wait.
It couldn't be
Is
prohibitively
this
expensive.
reason
The future of
why
these businesses would be
Japanese like
uncertain
themed
were it
cafes
not
are a
for
thing?
day before release story update.
And they're usually like, you know, and
Hold on a sec. What?
Hi, folks. Alex here. I've got some follow-up information since I had the chance to meet with.
Yeah,
a
ask the
lawyer
question after the
after
video's
my,
done, 'cause I can't
recording
hear you
with Liam
perfectly
took
right now.
place in Nagoya. And here's the deal. I brought him all these ideas, like what can I do? I could you know, make it members only, turn it into a school or something like that. And he had a brilliant idea, which was, what if you spend the money, pay for a business license, and become a used game shop? It's a bit of a hefty price tag on that business license, combined with lawyer fees to go through the process.
Yeah, I'm worried about these
the
being
lawyer also
closed
said he
too.
was going to. I could buy, or I could pay for him to write a letter that basically cites the specific piece of law that says what I'm doing is legal, and sign it, and I could just keep that in the bar in case somebody busts my door down. I will still be allowed to sell drinks and food. I will still be allowed to stay in my current location. I will no longer be able to advertise as a bar. I will have to advertise as a used game shop, because on paper, legally, that is what I will be. That's pretty much what the whole process is about, and he seemed very enthusiastic about it. And I don't know that this is something that any other video game bars have tried before. I know it's an idea that people were floating around, but nobody had ever actually, you know, thought to meet with a lawyer and discuss the viability of it. I told a Japanese friend I was meeting with a lawyer, and his response was, "How American!" Like, all right. I don't know.
Okay.
Isn't it should be a basic thing to want to know what your rights are and know what your options are, and meet with a legal professional to learn more about, you know, how the rules work.
And thus, we have a new version of some classic Japanese loophole bullshit. Kind of reminds me of how pachinko is allowed to exist, though somehow I feel like these bars aren't really pissing off anybody except Nintendo. So if any of you watching are going to be making a nerd pilgrimage to glorious Nippon, consider stopping into one of these hole-in-the-wall drinking establishments while they still last, regardless of what they gotta advertise themselves as.
Okay, so is that like the copyright? The reason why they have like themed cafes, usually run by said company?
Yes, because that's kind of the way you have to do it. Because like
this video is sponsored
otherwise,
by
unless you get the official company like blessing, you are
in 2021.
like,
the notion
in a
of
pretty
only
big
going
risk.
online when you want to
Interesting.
sounds like a vacation. In our
I mean,
current era of
I kinda
personal
get it.
area networks and connected
But,
convection
you know,
ovens,
it's still kind
takes
of
a lot more effort to sign off than it does to log on.
But 20 years ago, the opposite was the norm. Going online was an intentional process. You sat down at your family's big beige gateway or Packard Bell, you asked your brother to hang up the phone, and then you dialed up your internet service provider, prompting an acoustic cascade that to this day never fails to get my dopamine flowing. If you were like me, and about 20 million others, the ISP on the other side of that
Here's the fun thing about me. I had dial-up
America
at my
Online,
mom's house until
which had
2008.
spent the prior 7 years bombarding
Yeah.
every mailbox and retail counter in the United States with enough
You must
free
feel
trial
so
discs
different
to
now
amass
that
a
you
market
have
value of over $200
moderately
billion.
fast internet.
I feel so much.
America
I feel so
Online can do all that.
behind on everything.
But AOL wasn't
for
content
those
to
reasons.
stay synonymous with the desktop internet. Instead, it wanted to redefine what it meant to
You
be
also aren't
online
as
by
terminally
selling a device that would
online
live alongside
than me.
the phone on your belt,
And that's
so that
probably
you would
why,
never
honestly.
have to be offline.
Oh look, little pager thing. Pager boy.
If the AOL mobile communicator looks familiar to some viewers of my vintage, that's no surprise. It is, in essence, a rebadged BlackBerry.
The first BlackBerry, in fact, to be a bona fide hit for the Canadian manufacturer that in the year 2000 was still called Research in Motion, or RIM.
I did not realize that that was a
Called the
BlackBerry.
Interactive Pager 950, and it was
It's a pager.
extremely limited compared to the BlackBerries that would come to dominate the next decade.
It's just a
In fact, it didn't even have
just a
voice
pager.
capability, which technically means it doesn't belong in this series about phones, but I won't think too hard about that if you don't. But as brilliantly described in the book Losing the Signal, which I will link in the description, the 950 put BlackBerry on the map precisely because it didn't try to do everything. Instead, RIM reveled in its limitations and made what it could, the best mobile email device possible.
It looks so cool, though.
It squeezed in a full keyboard
so tiny.
optimized for thumbs, with a metal dome beneath each key to give it that signature click. To save space, numbers and functions were duplicated on some keys, and instead of a D-pad to navigate the interface, RIM included a jog dial, inspired by the track wheel of co-founder Mike Lazaridis' VCR remote. Even keeping it powered up was simple. When the juice ran low, a top-up was just $2 away at your local Radio Shack, who could sell you a new AA battery that would power the device for 3 weeks, thanks to the more efficient than expected Intel CPU at the heart of the unit. Scotty would have been proud. Today, the BlackBerry 950 is rare enough to be prohibitively expensive, so I'm grateful that an anonymous friend of the channel loaned me this compact-branded rebadge. And this is important because it shows
But in
what
all
the
these like
software
old
looked
tech
like
videos, it's
before
always I
AOL
borrowed
came
this from someone.
In addition to
it's
slang
never
mobile
like
email and BBM messages,
it's never like,
the
oh,
950
I got this
offered
from someone.
personal
It's like, no, I'm
information
this
management
person wants
functions,
this shit
like
back.
a calendar and an address book.
Well, because
functions whose absence
it's
would
their
not
nerd
go
collection.
unnoticed when this
They
BlackBerry
kind of need
morphed
it.
into its AOL equivalent.
And also, you know,
Yeah.
in theory, it's expensive and hard to find, or impossible to find in some cases, you know?
I hate this man's hair, by the way.
Doing a video like this can be at times.
I don't blame you. I understand.
The first AOL mobile communicator I was able to eBay arrived in great shape, resplendent in that translucent cobalt blue that could have come from no other era than the late 90s. But
late 90s
it
plastic.
wouldn't power up. Even once I swapped out the
I had a
encoded
clear
AA
Game
for
Boy
a fresh
Color
one.
at one point.
Well, a quick Google.
I had
unearthed
I
the
still
had a
do.
I had a
named
clear GBA.
Caspin, who'd done his own revisit
it the
on this
purple
device
one?
back in
No, it was like
2016
a
and
the
uncovered
it
what
was
this
the
old
light
house
blue
might
one.
call a bit of a surprise.
Okay.
An additional lithium-ion battery inside the unit. Some more Googling uncovered the user manual, which told me that when that pack was depleted, it could take a new AA battery 6 to 8 hours to bring it back to life.
What?
And sure enough, after just a little while, I was greeted with a plaintive bleep from the onboard tweeter and a lock screen? Yep. If you're the kind of eBayer who sells a working product but fails to mention it's locked behind a code that you can't remember, well, don't be that kind of eBayer.
But
to RIM's credit, not even inserting a pin into the reset hole on the backside would get me past this prompt.
Oh.
So it was back to eBay for several months more of fruitless searches until I finally came upon this new old stock example.
It's sealed.
Oh, and we get 700 free hours. Let's see, looks like we got a Duracell that expired March 2004.
It's amazing how it
Now,
hasn't
it's even easier to
changed.
stay in touch because you can send instant messages and emails anytime from anywhere without a PC. It's a better and more polite way to communicate in restaurants, the library, theaters, etc.
Polite.
Save money. Unlimited access
Okay.
to long distance, even international email, folks.
International
Well, I
email.
loved the privilege of unboxing a 20-year-old product for the first time. All that time sitting at total discharge had completely ruined the power supply, with not even the hottest of batteries prompting so much as a peep.
Nothing is going to happen. Nothing's going to happen for a little bit.
Christ.
I know why. We are not going to lose hope.
So I busted out the iFixit repair kit, and a
They
couple
had
of
to
torque screws
wait
later, I was inside the thing,
hours
staring
to
this
recharge the
surprisingly
stupid
large lithium-ion battery right in the face. It didn't take a big leap of imagination, of course, for me to realize
Maybe I can swap out the battery.
a few minutes, and thankfully no lithium-ion fire fountains later, I finally had myself a working mobile communicator.
All right.
Nice. Whoa.
Hello, friend.
Does it take
Well,
like
that
a
only
SIM
took 8
card?
months.
How does it?
The 6-line grayscale LCD was immaculate. Its blue backlight recalling the old Timex Indiglo watches I last wore, probably around the last time this display was powered up, on some QC bench somewhere in Waterloo.
Now, while I wouldn't have as much luck finding a network connection in 2021,
How does it work with
without
the network?
Well, email or instant message account, there's not much I would have been able to do anyway. Because remember, that's all the mobile communicator could do.
Remember, those extra BlackBerry features, the calendar, the address book,
I
the
figured out who
calculator,
this guy
none
looks
of them
like to me.
made
He
the
looks like
jump
Kevin
to the
Smith.
AOL device. Even reviews of the time called this out, and it seemed a weird oversight. So to find out why, I called up Frank Sandner, currently senior executive at Nationwide Marketing Group, but 20 years ago, he was a VP at AOL and general manager of the team that launched the mobile communicator. And what he told me would bring the short life of the first AOL mobile device into sharp focus. That story after this.
Aw, commercial breaks.
This video is sponsored by Noom, the health platform that taught me something new literally the first minute after I opened it.
It's a good name.
From the
I can't
first
stop
week
saying it.
spent in lockdown in the apartment I started
Noom.
not so lovingly calling the fish tank back in March 2020, my health has waned. And folks, I know I'm not alone. Noom
I hate
taught
every
me that in
hairstyle
case,
this man
that
has.
quarantine period is what's called a trigger, and it's part of something called a behavior chain, one that in my case leads to stress eating. Well, Noom combines human
Noom.
coaches, psychology, and science to empower people like me and you to break those chains and
Noom.
take control back. Noom is a whole new way of thinking about your health because learning,
I just
not
like the name
dieting,
Noom.
is what leads to
Yeah.
learning. And Noom gives you
I
a
can't believe I
whole
like the
toolbox
sponsor
of
spot because of
resources
the
to
name
make
of the
that
brand.
change last.
That's
quick
it.
and
It's
easy
just
to create your
Noom.
custom
I don't know what
plans.
else it does. It's just a
Noom
name.
evaluation.
Noom evaluation.
Evaluate
Thanks
your
to Noom
nooms.
for sponsoring
Noom.
this video.
Noom.
The word mobile communicator hasn't come up in years.
Former AOL VP Frank Santner reminded me that back at the turn of the century, almost nobody had experience optimizing software for mobile data devices because not a lot of mobile devices existed. So while AOL did a very good job rewriting the BlackBerry 950's interface for the mobile communicator, that work used up almost the entirety of the device's 2 megabytes of onboard memory.
Oh.
So it could only do email and instant messaging because that's all the software AOL could fit on the device. The way Santner puts it, AOL had found itself in the tricky position of shipping a feature, not a full product. That being said, I remember what I was like 20 years ago, and for me, a fully fledged AOL addict when this launched in November of 2000, the lack of a calendar would barely have even registered. I mean, email on my hip? My AIM buddy list with me all the time, complete with away messages and cheery notification tones when my friends logged on? Awesome. So why didn't this product take off?
Look at
Well,
this
it seemed
tiny
like
little
a lot of
cute
would-be
pagers.
buyers had the same problem I did. I didn't have the dough. According to my new favorite website,
Oh god, it was $300.
RadioShackCatalogs.com,
$300.
simple one-way pagers, like the one I carried at the time, cost between $50 and $80, with an annual subscription fee of something like $100. The AOL mobile communicator launched at $329.95 for the device, and then $19.95 a month for the service. That's on top of AOL's
$530
plan, which was another $21.95
$70 a month. Wow.
The device price would come down the following August to
Inflation.
$99, but when it did, the service price went up to about $30 a month.
And unfortunately for AOL, that same summer of 2001 is when mobile phone prices started to come down, thanks to generous subsidies from wireless carriers eager to coax people on to their new 2G cellular networks.
I turned out to be one of those subscribers. I skipped the mobile communicator and for $130 and a plan of $45 a month, got a fully featured cell phone instead. And while Sprint's CDMA network was positively pokey by today's standards, its maximum data rates were 18 times faster than the older Mobitex network the communicator ran on. Now, Mobitex deserves the praise it gets for reliability and robustness, but it also had problems keeping up with the instant part of instant messaging. It just wasn't built for the kind of data-rich future we ended up getting, and neither was the mobile communicator.
That's cool. I wish I had one.
To its credit, AOL saw that future coming. Thanks to its AOL Anywhere initiative, I already had AIM included as part of the wireless web package on my new phone. Seeing the writing on the wall, the company stopped taking orders for the mobile communicator in July 2002 and instead offered would-be buyers a $100 instant rebate toward the T-Mobile Sidekick, which launched in the fall of that same year.
Ah, the better device.
The Sidekick featured broad email compatibility and AOL Instant Messaging
Look how cool
baked
that one
right
is.
into the OS. Features that would also
Nowadays
come
it kind of looks like a
BlackBerry,
toy, but
Palm,
like,
and
dang.
every other smartphone
That thing
of
looks like a
note,
phone.
right
You
up
could check your
until AOL
email.
became more remember when.
You could like check stuff
than
online.
must-have.
Goodbye.
Today, most don't remember AOL's abortive in-house BlackBerry at all. Some who do, like Frank Santner, take it as a learning opportunity, a reminder that the market can move fast, and in his words, you can get steamrolled in a hurry. As for me, I tend to see it in a more generous, if ominous, light. AOL predicted a world where everyone would want to be online all the time. It just didn't foresee the lengths to which that obsession would extend.
People want to be
As a
online.
commenter on the Flyer Talk forums asked an AOL mobile communicator owner at the time, do you really use the IM capability during the day? While it does sound slick, I don't think I would want my buddy list having 24/7 access to me. I get enough messages from friends and family at work whenever I have an IM app loaded. Now, I just leave it off unless I'm trying to get in touch with someone. Now that right there, gotta be honest, that sounds like a world I wouldn't mind going back to.
Stop.
Special thanks to
being
Frank Sandler
online.
for taking the time to talk with me about his time at AOL, to the anonymous donor of that compact BlackBerry 950, and to the immense list of writers and reporters whose work I've referenced for this video. All of them are linked in the
I
description.
didn't realize he made such
As
documentarial
always, no company
videos. I
covered in
do
this
enjoy
video
it.
was given input concerning its editorial content, copy approval rights, or an early preview. The lone sponsor of this video is Noom.
Noom.
Until next time, I've been Michael Fisher. Thanks for watching. And stay mobile, my friends.
So that was all the videos we had in the queue today. I like that one.
I'm very partial to the gaming bar one. I really like
The gaming bar one.
There's
I
one
didn't-
more.
Yeah.
There's one more Super Bunny Hop video I'd be happy to throw in if you wanted to watch another video.
How long have we been up for? It's like
Almost 2 hours.
I think we should call it.
Okay, I'll just pop this in the
Just we'll do it next time.
Sure. I just posted it in the Discord.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see here. Who we can send y'all over to if possible. Do you have recommendations?
Me? No, I'm not sure who's on right now.
Okay. Let's
Have
see.
a good night.
Good night. Let's see here. Let's see if there's anyone. If not, it's okay. We can always just end it here. It seems like that might be the case. So, good night, everybody. Make sure to tune in tomorrow. Tomorrow's gonna be like a big day.
It is gonna be a big day. I think I will be able to be around
You
for
sure?
that.
Okay. We even have like a little. Hold on. I can show you guys like what the stage looks like.
Ooh.
It's like that. It looks like this. There's no audio, but there's also a little concert overlay, and you can see that there's chat. See?
I can't see anything right now. It's still the To me, it's still the regular cafe. Oh, there it goes. Ooh.
It's pretty.
Art Deco.
It's pretty. I put a lot of work into it.
I love it.
Even I got a custom chat little thing here for everybody. So like,
yeah.
And I think the cool part is like when you type in like emotes or something, there are people who like cheers happen, which is nice. Yay! I know. I think it's cute. I like it. Anyway, this is where I'm going to be tomorrow, so make sure you guys tune in. I'll be nervous, but very excited. Jill, do you have anything else to say?
No. Please stop by tomorrow.
Oh wait, no, not tomorrow. Did I say tomorrow? What day's tomorrow?
Right? Saturday.
Yeah, Saturday. My bad. Yeah, Saturday.
So it is tomorrow.
I thought it was Sunday for a minute. Anyway. Goodbye,
Good night,
everybody.
everybody.
Good night, everybody. Bye.
Bye.